Hello guys, my name is Millie Namakasa and the topic I chose was really requirements engineering on a global scale. The reason why I chose this was basically because I'm an international student and a lot of times when I think through things, I have to think through them on a perspective of more than one country. Like I'm from Uganda, and so when I think about like the decisions I make, I have to think about how they affect me right here, and if I want to move back to Uganda, if I want to live in Uganda, how they would play out in that standpoint. Hence why I thought about requirements engineering on a global scale. Global requirements, requirements Global software development is no longer just a phenomenon, but rather a conscious business decision, and it happens every single day. More and more countries are outsourcing their software development, and global software development is characterized really by stakeholders who are geographically distributed around the world, in different parts of the world. Really, one could be in the USA, another could be in Europe. Um, and we all know that requirements engineering provides basis for all the activities within the software development lifecycle, from testing, design, architecture, among others. Global requirements engineering is collaboration intensive in nature, hence it relies heavily on negotiation and decision making involving multiple stakeholders across different borders. And when I talk about borders, not just state borders, but country borders. Um, when it comes to global software development and global requirements engineering, there is advantages that come with it. Some of these advantages include access to large pool of labor that's also diverse in skill set, and I feel like with this kind of access, a company or a development company can get the best of the best when it comes to labor. Also, there is around the clock development, access to new markets, and cost effectiveness when it comes to software development or requirements engineering. It may be cheaper to outsource some of the work done because you can get a lot more for your money's worth and not having to spend as much money on requirements engineering if you were doing everything in the same within country within borders. When it comes to global requirements engineering, there are some things that should be kept in mind. We all remember that what requirements engineering is one of the um, most critical stages in all phases of software development. Some of the skills needed during requirements engineering would be in good English speaking skills. This would be um, especially during the elicitation process, and also this is because English is pretty well known around the world. It's a language that people know around the world. There is a need to understand the culture and customs of other countries, and so with this, especially in elicitation of requirements, um, it is important to remember what the cultures are and remember that these are different cultures. Let's say if you're eliciting requirements for a different country, it's important to remember what their cultures and customs are. There is a need to appreciate diversity and multiculturality. And so when it comes to global requirements engineering, you're getting different brains, different cultures, different people on a project, and so they need to appreciate those people for who they are. Plays an important role in delivering some of the best development software ever developed. There's a need to use proper communication protocols. I know for sure, um, i- in my country, there are communication protocols that happen that need to be followed in order to effectively get the best out of someone, and that's within interpersonal communication. But I imagine when it comes to requirements elicitation or requirements testing, or prioritization, there's need to understand their protocols to be able, in order to effectively get the best out of the project. Um, there is another skill is ability to deal with uncertainty and ambiguity. When it comes to involving a large pool of people and a large pool of developers and stakeholders are from all over the world, there is no telling what that might come with it. And so, for a requirements elicitor or requirements engineer standpoint, there's a need to keep your head up in that aspect and to know that anything could come, honestly. Some of the barriers in global requirements engineering include impeded communication. Um, this is really brought about by language barriers and lack of opportunities to seek relevant knowledge due to different layers of stakeholders. In global state global requirements engineering, there is certain levels of stake and layer of stakeholders that a developer may have to go through, and so these play a huge role in requirements, getting to know the requirements and to know which requirements are better, the functional or the non-functional requirements which are necessary. And so impeded communication comes in when the requirements are not communicated effectively. And so knowledge management, ineffective information and knowledge sharing mechanisms. And so because of different cultures, different borders, there is ineffective this knowledge sharing mechanisms may not be the same in each country. So that could be a barrier. Incompatible environments such as time differences. Let's say one developer lives in Australia and the shareholder lives in the United States. So those time differences could affect the work that's delivered on both ends. Language barriers, misunderstanding, especially when the common language is not the native language. I know this from experience of where something that it is could have been easily understood is not understood because it may mean something in this culture and mean different in another culture, which leads me to the next factor, which is culture barriers. Different in stakeholders, language, and national culture affect collaboration of the customers and developers. Culture, country instabilities. Um, I've seen this on a personal level when back in January, Uganda was holding an election, and during the election, they had a countrywide internet shutdown, and so those instabilities within the country could um, not could they do affect the level of software development and their effectiveness and the quality of the work that's produced. Lack of protection of intellectual property rights. This happens mainly. This certainly does happen on a global scale. One of the things that I saw throughout all my research that affected global software development was communication. And when it comes to requirements engineering, there's a need for clear communication. And so there is a need to provide relevant information to global software teams to effectively execute the desired goals. So communication has to be paramount. And so attitude towards hierarchy influence how willing stakeholders are to openly decline new functionality requests, impacting activities of release and forecast, as well as suppliers' ability to keep the schedule. And so within different cultures, there's different hierarchies. And so like in Uganda, you can't like a young girl cannot tell a grown man or a grown person that you can't do this or you can't do that. And so the way people take requests and orders in different cultures does matter. And so it's important to understand the communication culture within that country. And so in order to help this, there's a need to conduct a survey on awareness. There's a need to conduct surveys on the communication mechanisms of those different countries. And through the social network analysis is based on communication data that's collected via surveys, and these are questionnaires that are filled out by team members, emails, change management, and communication relationships. And communicating, conducting a survey on awareness relationships. And after this data is all collected, it could be graphed out, and it could be used to identify, to compare the existing communication relationships and set goals as well for as the expectations for the future when in terms of communication. Another thing I looked at that could help communication would be global notification servers. And so the way these global notification servers are set up, they would uh, they would be set up in a way that different team members could access the relevant information and subscribe to the relevant information that is necessary on their project. Um, they usually The global notification servers usually provide subscription services that allow consumers to subscribe to different types of events. Examples of the global notification servers include Cache, Sienna, and Elvin. These servers they help with flexibility, allowing addition of new components and interconnection of sites and tools used. These servers can be used to support integration among software development tools, and they can be used to support informal communication as well. Um, so when it comes to requirements engineering on a global standpoint, communication later leads into decision making. And so when it comes to decision making, there's really a need to apply theories and experiences in decision making to global software development, and using people related aspects and learning the people that you are dealing with is important when it comes to decision making in a global standpoint. And communication and awareness networks are very essential when it comes to requirements engineering on a global scale. One of the things that I came across was the chaotic approach, and it was developed by the former CEO of Visa, and it really hinges on three things, and that is self-organization, which is comparable to agile approaches, creation of suitable frame organization, open-minded, fair, equal distribution of power, and negotiation of soft skills. So with the chaotic approach, it's really chaos and order. And one of the quotes from the book, the author says, in the age of handcrafting, the dominant forms of organization were powerful, were the all powerful churches, kingdoms, and hard craftsmen guilds. Just as the age of machine crafting led to the emergence of today's organization, ending the dominance of guilds, kingdoms, and churches, so too will the age of mind crafting give rise to new, more chaotic concepts of organization that will end dominance of today's organizational structures. And so really what the author is saying, as the world changes, there's more, the chaotic approach is taking root more and more, and the and and the more different organizations are having to adjust to that approach. Some of my final thoughts on this project. So after reviewing, researching all that, I here's some of the takeaways that I got. Um, Global requirements engineering is really broad, and communication has to be at the forefront to where the goals and the needs are met on different levels. Um, there is Global software development is a current trend, and it's ongoing as the world is more and more connected. In order to improve the whole entire process of requirements engineering on a global scale, communication has to be at the forefront. There is need to improve the process in order to cope with the diverse tools, diverse roles, collaboration needs, cultural understandings, changing domain knowledge, and organizational structures. And thank you very much.